5 high, is it like a milestone high school graduation? Well, 25 years, right? So I'm gonna try. A special meeting, Monday, June 16, 2025. I now call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. All votes will be taken by roll call vote, and now I will ask the library director to proceed with roll call.
Chairperson Kristen Higaki is absent. Vice Chairperson Kolit Ambasta.
Present.
Board Member Eric Nerlich is absent. Board Member Sharon Sue. Present. Board Member Barbara Wiesen-Bear. Present.
Minutes approval. Minutes for the May 19th, 2025 meeting have been delivered to board members. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes. However, in terms of public comment, would a member of the public like to provide comments on an item on the minutes approval? If on the line, please click raised hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Any people online?
We have one attendee, but the attendee hasn't raised their hand.
Okay, great. So for approval of minutes, may I get somebody to initiate?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Sharon, and then so Sharon, and then it was seconded. Okay, great. So by roll call, approve the minutes.
Vice Chair Ambasta.
Approved.
Board Member Sue. Approved. Board Member Wiesen-Bear.
Excellent. So let it be known that the May minutes were approved. Next, we move to oral communications. This part of the meeting is reserved for people wishing to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during this section. State law prohibits the board from acting on non-agenda items. Would any member of the public like to provide comments on an item at this time? If on the line, click raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen.
No raised.
Okay. Next up is donations. We have no donations to comment on at this point, so we will move to section 6, where we have a presentation by librarian Charles Mosner about customer experience and technology division staff. A presentation that he will deliver at this point. And so let's do that now.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Mosner, and I am an adult services librarian here in the Customer Experience and Technology Division. I have been working with the City of Mountain View now for about 10 months, so I'm still relatively new. But before my time working for the city, I was a public librarian in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area of Minnesota for many years. So anyway, I'm here today to talk to you about some updates on regarding the Customer Experience and Technology Division. And really, before I go any further, I wanted to just pause and take a moment to just briefly define the Customer Experience and Technology Division, or CXT as we refer to it in the library. So CXT is composed of 3 distinct work groups. There is the Customer Service Work Group, and that's basically the staff that work at the first floor service desk. They kind of assist with the circulation of library materials, check-in, check-out, registering folks for library accounts, things of this nature. And then we have the technology work group that work with our back-end library software and our public computers. And then there is the adult services work group, which is what I'm part of. And we staff and supervise the second floor of the library here. And we are also in charge of all of our adult displays, our adult collections, and all the adult programs that we offer. So the goals of this presentation are threefold. So first, I'll be providing some service and project updates to you from the past fiscal year. Secondly, I'm going to talk about and demo our brand new library catalog, Vega Discover, which we just launched. And then third, I'm going to talk a little about some upcoming projects and initiatives for the department for the next year. And all told, I expect this to take about 30 to 35 minutes, which should leave a little time for questions at the end.
Okay, and do you prefer questions as we go along or hold them to the end?
I would say, I mean, hold them at the end. But if there's something really pressing, you think it's the right moment, I'm okay with that too. So,
All right,
okay. Yeah.
great.
All right, so starting with some service and project updates over the past year, I'm going to begin by talking a little about our displays. So we currently have 9 adult displays throughout the library. 6 of these are on the second floor here, and then 3 of them are now on the first floor. And we have these displays both to encourage browsing and discovery, and to help increase the circulation of library materials. And as you can see from the photo on the right, we've recently moved one of the displays to the center lobby area. You probably all saw this as you walked in today. As I understand it, this idea came from this group, so thank you for that. And we change up these displays. We rotate them every month between various timely and librarian curated topics. And we especially make a point of highlighting any major awareness months, things such as Pride this month or API Heritage last month, just in recognition, or it aligns with the city's own recognition of these months. And then one of our displays is a permanent showcase for our Lucky Day items. These are the popular high demand titles that are available on a first come, first served basis. And they encourage customers to visit and browse the library and reward them with immediate access to popular titles. So the Lucky Day items are purchased with funds from the Friends of the Mountain View Library. Next, I'm going to talk a little about some updates to our digital resources. So in February of this year, we launched a subscription to Press Reader. Press Reader provides full color access to over 7,000 newspapers and magazines from around the world in multiple languages. And as you probably all know, over 50% of Mountain View's population speaks a language other than English at home. So the robust world language content within Press Reader really supports the City Council's strategic priority of being a community for all. And you can also see that several of the top publications, and these are the publications that are most accessed by our own users locally within Press Reader, are either published outside of the United States or are in languages other than in English. We also have an update on Coursera, which is an online learning platform focused on digital, human, and business skills. Coursera has courses provided by many top universities and companies. It's a great resource and a very popular one. And it's limited only by the number of seats that we're able to offer the community. So unlike most of our digital resources, we do have to purchase licenses for individuals to use Coursera. And previously, those licenses were funded by the state library program, but the funding for that unfortunately ended last year. So we took it upon ourselves in September to purchase 60 licenses in Coursera, and we've just continued to see strong usage with about 52 active learners per month. These are people who are actively using Coursera throughout the month. We also see about 150 learners enroll in Coursera every month. So we're just really continuing to see really strong usage of this resource. Next, we'd like to give a few updates on our History Center. So during the past fiscal year, the History Center underwent a disaster preparedness assessment. It was facilitated with a grant through the California State Library's Ready or Not partnership with the Northeast Document Conservation Center. So a consultant from the Northeast Document Conservation Center assessed the History Center collection regarding its emergency preparedness and risk mitigation, and they provided the library with an extensive written report at the beginning of this year. And then since then, library staff, along with board members from the Mountain View Historical Association, have been working on identifying the highest priority items within the History Center's collection for improving the emergency preparedness. We've also embarked on a process to create a basic inventory of some previously uncatalogued boxed collections that are in the History Center's storage room. And one of our summer interns this summer is working, she's spending most of her time working on this project of inventorying that content. We also continued our efforts to digitize rare and delicate collection materials through a grant from the State Library's California Revealed initiative. They accepted a selection of early Mountain View High School yearbooks earlier this year. Those materials are still currently with California Revealed, but we have received some proofs back from them. And the photo on the left is one of them. It shows the trustees of the Mountain View High School back in 1904. Unfortunately, though, California Revealed's future is in doubt due to the loss of its Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services grant, which was heretofore been its sole source of funding. So it really remains to be seen if alternative funding from either the state of California or donations can sustain their work going forward. All right, next I'll talk about some of our programs of note over this fiscal year. So we try to program events that will interest the community and will also achieve the city's strategic priorities, such as being a community for all. And one of our most popular programs along these lines is our weekly ESL Conversation Club. You can see it pictured at the top there. We've seen 1,186 attendees attend the ESL Conversation Club this fiscal year, and that number will increase still a little bit because we still have a few sessions left for the end of the year here. And in the bottom photo, you can see we had a very full house for a program on San Jose Japantown, which is one of 3 remaining Japantowns in the nation. And we've had good turnouts for other recent local history programs as well, on Hispanic history and Filipino history as well. Moving on, we wanted to highlight some of our programs that strategize economic vitality as well as sustainability and livability. And incidentally, many of these are programs that I coordinate here. Our free tax preparation assistance is one I particularly wanted to point out. This is offered to households that meet certain income limits and really helps them maximize their refunds without having to pay for this service. So we saw over 800 customers served during this tax season, which is more than 100 more than were served in the previous tax season. I also wanted to point out some of our sustainability events. So we have a monthly Sewing with Fabmo program where we create a sewing project out of upcycled fabric using one of our 8 Baby Lock sewing machines. So the top image is from one of the sessions that we had here back in January. Everyone made the slouchy hats that they're wearing. And then the photo below is from one of our Master Gardener events, which we also offer monthly. One of our presenters here is demonstrating to a captivated audience about how to grow and arrange succulents. Our online author series continues to see high attendance with 616 live attendees over the course of 35 events so far this fiscal year. This is a series of online talks with often high-profile authors who are arranged by the Library Speakers Consortium, and we subscribe to that. So some of the highest attended events this year were talks with Jodi Picoult and Leanne Moriarty. And then every year we partake in Silicon Valley Reads, which is a regional initiative that encourages everyone in the community to read selected books on a chosen theme. And then we take that theme and we build out programs around it as well. So this year's theme was Empowering Humanity, Technology for a Better World. And it included a focus on artificial intelligence and robotics. And some of the program highlights from this time around, we had programs on human versus AI empathy. We had a program on the use of AI in Bay Area recycling centers. And we also had Dr. Anthony Chow, who's the director of the San Jose State University iSchool, come and bring his life-size generative AI robot, Rosie, for people to interact with. You can see Rosie in the photo with Tracy and myself here. So incidentally, Rosie was named after the Jetsons, if you were curious. All right, moving on, some updates about our seed library. Over the past fiscal year, the Friends of the Mountain View Library generously stepped in to provide some fiscal support for the seed library. Operating our seed library has continued that we purchase seeds from vendors, so we're very grateful to the Friends for the support they've given us. The seed library program showed remarkable growth this year, so much so that we were kind of required to take some steps just to ensure its long-term sustainability. So first of all, we ended up closing the seed library through the winter months, essentially from right after Thanksgiving through January. And the reason for this was there are comparatively few seeds that can be started or planted during these months. And then it allowed staff just to focus on packaging seeds in preparation for the spring planting season. And then we reopened the seed library on February 1st. And then we also ended up reducing the number of seed packets that people can take each week from 5 down to 3. And this is just a way of ensuring that a greater number of people will be able to use the seeds and be able to have access to them. This spring, we began to supply seed packets to the library's bookmobile division, which has been bringing a small selection of seeds to bookmobile stops. And anecdotally, we have noticed an increased interest in customers in donating seeds. And we hope that this translates into increased donations as the year progresses.
Yes, were the donations paused during COVID, or, because I remember they used to have donations a long time ago.
Oh, that's a good question. During COVID, that's before my time here. Do I have a review now?
Yes, it got impacted by COVID. As you probably are remembering, it's very strong, community driven, that they get seeds and they bring their extra seeds, but that stopped during COVID, and it was really challenging to get it back. So we analyzed the service. It's a popular service, so we put in that we're going to purchase it through the Friends. So it's the Friends still donating the funds for it, and we only get like locally grown non-GMO seeds. So there's a few like rules that we put in place to hark back to what the purpose of the seed library when it started.
I thought it was such a nice, I guess, compliment to some of the Master Gardener classes that are really well attended.
Yes, they are. And that's right. Since I coordinate the Master Gardener classes as well, I always try to make a point of mentioning the seed library whenever I can and encouraging people to donate seeds there as well. Yeah, so thanks for the question. All right, well, so we also expanded our Library of Things collection to include several new options this year. If you're not familiar with the concept, the Library of Things has really gained popularity across the country in recent years as libraries have expanded the kinds of materials that they're offering to not just be books and media, but also objects that are occasionally useful, but that you might not necessarily need to own. And so lending out these sort of occasional use objects really encourages sustainability within the community. So our collection is driven by community demand and a consideration of what other libraries in the area are offering. And so some of the new additions to the collection include pedometers. We now have 4 pedometers that are circulating that just help with the health and wellness of the community. We also have 3 stargazing kits that are currently circulating. These are immensely popular. At the moment, we have over 150 holds on 3 stargazing kits. So we may need to purchase more of those at some point, but yeah. And then we also have 2 webcams that are available for in-house use in the library. There's a photo of one of these in the center here. Each comes with a miniature tripod, and the idea here is that they can help facilitate hybrid meetings in our study rooms. We also consistently hear demand from the public for charging cords, portable chargers, wireless chargers. So to meet this need and to help ensure that our online resources are accessible to more people, we installed a few dozen wireless chargers at study desks throughout mostly the periodicals area. There's a photo on the left of what one of those looks like. And these were made possible through a Pacific Library Partnership Technology Reimbursement Grant that we were awarded. And then we also now have portable chargers that customers can check out from the second floor desk just to use in the library. Photo of one of these on the right, and these come with several different connections. Also, anyone can use to charge their phone or tablet or laptop. And then finally, we made several space improvements this fiscal year to provide a more welcoming, comfortable environment for all customers to use and enjoy. So we refreshed all the study rooms with fresh coats of paint. We also attached strips of silicone to the backs of the chairs to hopefully prevent them from scuffing up the walls and protect the city's fiscal investment in this update. We then painted the second floor program room, this room, to improve the experience of customers attending programs in this space. And we also created more distancing between computer stations at the Oval on the second floor, just to allow customers more space to concentrate when they're using the computers. And then I'm saving one of our biggest updates for last. So just went into effect is the launch of our new Vega Discover catalog, which is replacing the library's previous catalog. And a few of the reasons that we're excited about this new catalog include its customization options. So for example, there is a homepage builder. It allows us to upload custom icons and curate links across the top banner. You can kind of see that up here in this image. And when the library is closed for a holiday, we can also add a notice at the library catalog. Vega Discover is produced by the same company that produces Sierra, which is our backend catalog. Our backend catalog that library staff use to do all sorts of things, from tracking items that we've ordered, to monitoring usage of materials, to creating borrower records and searching for materials. And since the same company produces both Sierra and Vega, they integrate really well together. And then, since Vega is a relatively new product, its developers are actively listening to customer feedback as they implement additional features. And speaking of features, some of the key features that Vega has, it is mobile responsive, meaning the experience using Vega on a mobile device, a phone or a tablet is going to be just as good as on a computer. It also has what are known as format rollups. You can kind of see this in this image here. So if the library owns a title, let's say Where the Crawdads Sing is both a physical book, an ebook, a large print book, an audiobook, et cetera, instead of having to scroll between all these different formats, they get rolled up into this one line right here. It just makes it easier to find what you're looking for. It saves the time of the reader. And then other features, you can certainly filter your search results. There are book reviews, both professional and reader reviews. There are virtual bookshelves. You can create custom lists of materials that you're interested in. You can save your searches so that you don't have to recreate them each time. You can enable a history of items that you've borrowed so you can keep track of what you've checked out in the past. And you can also translate the search interface into both Spanish and Chinese, which helps us achieve our strategic priority of being a community for all. And now I will give you a brief demo here of Vega. So this is the Vega homepage here. As you can see, it's a relatively clean look. It really allows us to foreground content here. These are curated staff lists. If I scroll down, I'll see different lists that have been curated by staff, and these will change month by month, as we always want to be showing people things that are fresh and new. Up at the top of the screen, I mentioned if there's a holiday, we can put a note about that. And in fact, there's one later this week, the Juneteenth holiday. So we have a note right here letting everyone know that the library will be closed on Thursday. We're able to input the City of Mountain View's logo here in the upper left. And we've also curated all the links up here. So there are options to get a library card, to visit the digital library, to visit the main library website, to suggest an item for purchase that we don't own, or to look into acquiring an item through the Link Plus system through interlibrary loan. So there's links to all those right up there. And then over on the right-hand side, this is where you'll find those language toggles here. So I can just click here and change the interface if I want into Chinese, change it into Spanish.
So I think it's great that there's Chinese and Spanish, but are there also plans to potentially phase in other languages as well here or no?
That's a great question. I do know that, like I said, Vega, it's a relatively new product and they are interested in listening to customer feedback. So certainly if we were to suggest it, I think they would definitely look into that. Melvin, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just a thought because sometimes you get, government documents and they have to be 10 languages, right? And so it can be helpful at times.
Yeah.
Right. But I think first list of 3 is great.
Yeah. And these are also some of the highest spoken languages in our community locally. So
Of course.
kind of why those are useful to have. And of course, it doesn't actually change the language of the books that you're seeing here. It's just the links and the search interface that changes. But I will change this back to English for the duration of this little demo here. There is a help feature here. If you're trying to figure out how to do something in Vega, you can't figure it out, this is a good place to go. The little library icon will give you our hours and location, contact information, all that kind of thing here. This icon here allows you to access your bookmarks. I will talk about that more in just a moment. And then there is an option to log into your library account up here. There's actually 2 ways you can log into your account. So there's this login up in the upper right. And then down at the bottom, there's this My Bookshelf bar, this long black bar, which is always present no matter what part of Vega you're looking at. It's always here. And if I click this little up arrow, it's going to bring up a screen. And if I'm not signed in, there's a sign in option here. So regardless of which sign in login I use, both of them are going to bring me to this same screen here. And I just have to input my library barcode number and my PIN. Then it'll bring me back. I know I'm signed in when I can see my account name up here in the upper right. This is a staff account, that's why it says library. But if I go back to this bookshelf bar now and open this up, now you can see this is where I can see my checkouts. I can see any due dates of items, options to renew them will be here. I can also see if I have any holds then find that over here. Any fines and fees, should I have them? My profile information. I can access my bookmarks. It's kind of a way of creating like a wish list of materials you might be interested in the future. Saved searches. If I create a search, I don't want to have to type it out every time. I can save it and find it here. And then if I enable my reading history, I'd be able to see the history of what I've borrowed right here as well. And then, of course, there is the search box up here, which I can use to search for any titles, authors, subjects. So just as an example, I'm going to search for Dune to show you what the search results screen looks like. And over on the left-hand side, there are options to refine the results. I can filter these results by, availability. I can filter them by format. There's lots of other filters here, including language filters. Scroll back up over on the right side here. These results are sorted by relevancy automatically, but if I prefer, I can change this to show me just like the newest materials that match my search terms. Could be useful. I also have the ability right here to save the search right above that. So if I don't want to have to, if I had a more complex search than this, it might be useful to save it so I don't have to perform that search every single time. Yeah.
So after you log in,
Yep.
is there like a page where you can specify preferences for like result per page or sorted by, X, Y, and Z, et cetera, like certain preferences? And you
So-
can like save so that they default to that?
So you can select these and lock them in I think you have to make a search first in order to apply them. And they will stay in place for the duration of your browsing session, essentially. So if I want to just see, materials that are online, you can see there's this little, it's really small, but this little padlock here, and like that would, if I select that, lock it, and that any other searches I do for the
Got it.
duration of this browsing session are only going to show me things that are at the library unless I click that again to disable it.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Charles,
Yeah,
in the top line where you've got the banner, do
Yeah.
you have the option to enlarge the text up there, or is it fixed?
that's a good question.
Because that's one that if you had the option to enlarge that, make it bold,
Yeah,
catch people's attention quickly. Because I tend to go to the middle of the page of anything first,
sure.
and so even though it's yellow,
Yeah,
anything you can do to highlight that.
yeah, that's a really good point.
It
I'll
could be bold and it could also be an increased font size. Like that looks
Right.
like a 10 or 12 to me. It's like,
Yeah.
like a 20.
yeah,
And it's
Yeah.
kind of obvious.
Yeah.
right?
yeah, I'll definitely bring that up with our staff and technologies.
Is this a beta project? Is this, or are you,
I mean,
is,
it's
as far as them taking feedback on it, or is it more developed than that? Just early stage, but beyond
It's-
beta?
yeah, I believe it's early stage, but it is
It's
beyond.
past beta.
It's past beta at this point. Yeah,
One of our prior catalogs, we had the option to get in at a beta stage when we were discussing which one we would choose, and there was a lot of trepidation about that. That was, I think, our second catalog with VTLS was an option to, they had a new product out, but it was just beta when we were deciding on, and that we switched vendors.
continue on here. So yeah, there's the option to save your search. If I was not finding what I was looking for here, I could certainly click the button here to just perform this search in Link Plus and see if Link Plus had it. But in this case, the Mountain View Library does own Dune, and I can see that right here. So all those formats, like I pointed out, are rolled up right here. And if I'm looking for a particular one, I can just select the tab for the format that I'm looking for that in. And for any kind of physical collections as well, this is a really neat feature, I think. But there's this little map it feature, which will show you where in the library this item is physically located. That's really neat. I also have the option to save this item for later. So let's say I'm just kind of interested in making a wish list of things I want to read down the line. I could just save that for later. And then if I click that bookmarks tab down on that bookshelf,
Here and there.
yeah, now I'll see that pop up there.
And when you were at the map,
Yeah, maybe I'll go back.
which I find very helpful,
Yes.
what was the QR code for that? There's a QR code in the bottom? Oh, shareable.
It's a
map.
share, yeah, so shareable map if you wanted to share that.
Nice.
Mhm. Yeah. There's also an option to place a hold on the title right here if you wanted, or if you wanted to find out more information about the book, you could just click on the title and that'll bring you to a page where you can not only get the publication information, but a brief description of the item. And it's loading here, but there's actually a fair amount more that populates as well. This will just appear in a moment. Kind of talk about what you would be seeing, assuming this will just pop up in a second here. But if a book is part of a series, you'll be able to see all of the other books that are in the series with links to select any of those. Let me just refresh this just to see if it'll. Sometimes browsers are funny.
It is a nice clean format,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it is.
much easier than.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a series information. There is also read-alikes. So if you're looking for books that are similar to this, you'll be able to find that. If the book won any awards, you'll be able to see the awards it won. If it appeared on any notable book lists, that'll show up. There's also author information. So there's a whole good amount of information. This all comes from a third-party software called Syndetics Unbound. So I'm not going to wait for that at this point, but we'll just go back to the presentation. Right, and then finally, we wanted to share a few of our upcoming projects and initiatives for the next fiscal year with you. So regarding our History Center, so currently the History Center is open 4 hours a week on Tuesday afternoons, but we're looking to expand those hours just because, to better meet the needs of different of the community, different scheduling needs and whatnot. We're looking to include another day of the week with hopefully some evening hours as well. We also are looking into content management systems for the History Center with the hope of just making the collection more easily discoverable. And then our summer reading program is currently happening and it will continue into the next fiscal year. So the way it works, we have, you could call it badges for books. Customers have until the end of July to complete any 5 badges. They can either read books to complete these badges, or they can complete select activities, such as attending a library program or checking out one of our digital resources, things like this. And then once they complete the program, they get a coupon to a free book at a Friends of the Library book sale. And they also get entered into grand prize drawings for chances to win a gift card to a local business.
Is there a particular reason why the period is end of July instead of end of August?
That's a good question.
Well,
Start of school.
School
in
start.
August.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, school starts in
Yeah.
August. Okay.
okay. And then we're very fortunate this summer. We have a couple of interns working for us. I mentioned before, one of our interns is working with our History Center collection, trying to inventory the previously uncatalogued collections that we have, just try to make those more accessible by doing that. And then we have a second intern who I am supervising, who is helping us develop a mobile or pop-up makerspace. So she's putting together a comprehensive list of equipment and supplies and other resources that we would need in order to put together some maker programming. She's also developing curriculum for new and exciting maker or craft related programs to go with the equipment. We've really seen an interest from the community in having more adult crafting types of programs. And there's also the city's vision of being a strong, innovation-driven local economy. And so kind of putting this together as a way of bringing that to fruition, I think.
Charles,
Yeah.
Then is there a component for staff, community donations of craft supplies? Do you have any connection? Have you made a process for that?
That's a great question that,
There are often people that, particularly when kids get a little bit older, you end up with too many crayons and too much of this or too much of that, and there may be art supplies that are floating that people are looking to donate. I know from times past, when we had excess at the library, we worked through the community school, music and arts, and were able to give them some materials when we shut down programs. But if you can have that sort of linkage in the community, it's might be useful. Sometimes it's complicated to coordinate, but if you open up that channel, there might be people that would be willing to donate things.
yeah, thank you for that suggestion. And I think that really goes a long way in trying to, create a more sustainable community too. We're not just wasting supplies,
Exactly.
we're using those things.
It's in the same spirit as FAMO.
Yeah, it is absolutely in the same spirit as FABO. Yes.
And it's going to sound weird, but you might even connect with people that are working with people at end of stage life situations, or people who work on clearing out people's houses for them. Because those are the people that often, the kids may not live in town and they arrive and they're trying to, how do I get rid of this stuff? And a lot ends up in the garbage that doesn't need to, if there are more open, easy places to drop things, people would do that.
Thank you for that. All right. And then one of our technology goals this upcoming fiscal year is to work with IT to deploy wireless printing at the library. Most public libraries offer this service, and being in the heart of Silicon Valley, quite frankly, our customers have come to expect it from us. So staff from the library and city IT have been visiting libraries to see what they're using and just kind of exploring our different options. So we hope to get that deployed next year. And then finally, an update on our materials handling system. Now, this is the system that processes all the incoming book returns and then sorts it into various bins in the customer service area. So our materials handling system is nearing its end of life, which is supposed to be about 15 years. We've had our machine in place since 2008. So the system breaks down more frequently than we would like. And then when it does break down, it's very difficult to get parts. In addition, there are no longer any local vendors for the system. So it takes quite a while for the vendor to fly someone in to fix our system when it does break down. So in this upcoming fiscal year, one of the library goals is to begin the process of selecting a modern materials handling system with the assistance of Public Works. In brief, the system will need to be able to process all the types of material that run through our system and the amount of material that runs through our system each day. It will also need to fit into the existing space that we have, and it will need to be compatible with Sierra, our backend catalog too. We're also looking for a machine that requires a smaller footprint, is modular, fast, and offers local in-house support from the vendor. And of course, it needs to be affordable as well.
Do you know if there are any systems out there that are going to fit? Do you have any heads up on that yet, or?
There's maybe a handful of vendors that do this work in libraries anymore. And we'll be just doing preliminary because it was approved, but on schedule for the following fiscal year, so 26, 27. But we'll be in
Doing
this fiscal year
the
sending
background and
sending staff to conferences, because a lot of the big conferences, they have the vendors are there, and having some of the library staff go to other libraries to see theirs in action and see.
How many libraries in the area are using compatible systems? It usually, with this new system that you've got, usually we were way out of sync with anybody buying at the same time, so everybody ended up with different systems. Is anybody else using Vega or using Sierra?
That's a good question. I couldn't give exactly right now.
Sure.
Here in Vega, but the AMHS's, the material handling system, they're all pretty compatible these days with the system. Yeah. It's good. There's a lot fewer than there used to be. As you know.
Remember, it was complicated back when
Yeah.
All right, well,
Would you remind me, the decision was made to switch the catalog again? Because I remember when the website, or the new website and the new catalog got together.
Did.
And so I think that I missed.
That Vega would come
Yes.
next.
Yes, the vendor that we were using, it just wasn't meeting our expectations.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks great, so.
yeah. Yeah, so thank you. That's what I had for you today. So if there's other
How
questions.
much time do you anticipate it takes to come up with these lists? How many books do they have to feature for the monthly lists on the display on the catalog?
Oh, so we have, for the digital lists you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah, we probably, on the adult side, I think we maybe have about 3 or 4 of those. So not quite as many digital ones as we have physical lists, because we also want to give space to our youth collections
Right.
on the website as well. But once we've created, have an idea for a list, you're able, it doesn't take very, it goes pretty quick. Yeah.
We usually host about 10 lists monthly
Okay.
on the website. If you look at the website at the bottom of it,
Yeah.
but that's more just so it's not overwhelming for folks to not look at that. And we divide it equally among adult lists, like topical, monthly topical lists, youth, a lot of youth and media. So
Mhm. We used to have to do a lot of background work in selecting things that had enough copies to meet demand and doing all those things. I'm sure it's much faster these days. Did you run into any call number issues? That was a perennial problem with the systems that we've got. I think I was here for 3 iterations of systems and worked on a couple of the committees, and our call numbers with the way we use JP, or we used to use JP, I checked lately, but it was JP and JE in the children's, and a few other things really through the vendors, and they had a lot of custom work that they had to do to coordinate it with ours, but doesn't sound like you've had that problem with, in order to do things like some of the searches, if you wanted to search every picture book alphabetically by author, and to do some of the work on the back end of materials manipulation and coming up with lists and things, they had a real hard time with our prefix system.
So I can answer that.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about like the Vega implementation, the Vega Discovery implementation,
Right.
we did get like excellent support from the vendor.
Good.
There was like an engineering and implementation team that worked with the counterpart team of the library, and as far as I could remember on the meetings that I attended, that did not come up
Good.
as an issue, and it's great. But as with all things new, we're still like finding what sort of like kicking the tires if, yeah.
Well, it's nice to know that some of those things have probably been solved in the iterations.
Yes.
Forward, which is great.
Any other questions in the room?
May I ask how the response to the Lucky Day bookshelf, the new placement, how that response is going?
Anecdotally, it's been really positive. We are just constantly seeing people engaging with it there. I think we're restocking it more than we were before, so I think it's been really positive. So thank you again for that suggestion.
I'm reminded of, heading into an independent bookstore and the new releases are towards the front.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the closest books that you can, I guess, access, I would say, physically.
Yes. Thank you, Charles. At this time, in terms of public comment, would any member of the public like to provide comments on an item? On on the presentation? If online, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen if needed.
No, Christine?
Okay. Section number 7, unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business. So section 8, new business. At this time, we're going to discuss through Tracy Gray, library director, the fiscal year 2025 to 26 work plan. So I'll go to Tracy at this point.
You ready, Tracy?
Yes.
Ready.
Okay, thank you. It's always my laptop. Okay, so this was in the packet. This is the proposed fiscal year 2025-26 Board of Library Trustees work plan. All of the city council boards and commissions have to do a work plan every year at the beginning of prior to the fiscal year. It's pretty straightforward for the library, for the Board of Library Trustees to accept donations, review policies, review the library performance and workload measures, do the work plan. It's typical to have an annual meeting with the Friends of the Mountain View Library Board. And then discussion of hot topics in public libraries. This past year, one of the big topics that we presented to the board was banned books and things that come up that are nationwide, regional, and so forth. So this is the work plan, and it does need to be approved, and then it will go to city council at their August meeting for approval.
Any thoughts?
looks good to me. I think the only note that I thought of is that I wondered if we should ever move up the annual work plan if we have June absences. But with the fiscal year basically starting when it does, it seems like that would be where it should be. So
And
more of an
I could
observation.
turn that I could change this to before.
Before fiscal year end.
Fiscal year end. A good point.
I mean, it seemed fine to me, so I don't have any
That looks good.
objections or need to clarify anything. At this moment, though, if there aren't questions in the room, in terms of public comment, would a member of the public like to provide comments on an item here? If on the line, please click raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone, and the library director will display a timer on the screen.
No resistance.
No raised hands. Okay, so at this point, I will call for the library director to conduct a vote by roll call.
We need a move a motion.
Oh, yes, that's right. First, okay, will one of us move to accept this plan?
I moved that we accept the work plan.
With the edits, correct.
With the
With the edits.
With edits
Okay.
included, yes.
I second that motion.
Second. Okay, and then, so with that done, library director will conduct a vote by roll call now.
Vice Chair Bosta,
Approved?
Board Member Sue,
Approved.
Board Member Weisenbear.
approved.
All right, excellent. Section 8.2 fiscal year 2025 to 26 planning calendar. At this point, we'd like to review and discuss this document.
So this is a planning calendar to just help organize the library staff as well as the board for the fiscal year. And as we were sitting here today, I was thinking that, and I wanted to ask you all if, because in December, in either the November, December, I believe you're not meeting this November. So at the December meetings, you typically approve the next calendar year board meetings. So would you all prefer to have this at that time? Because it may change if you decide to not meet on a certain month or something. We've been doing this in our fiscal year, but for all the boards and commissions do their calendar dates of meetings count by calendar year. But I'm happy to continue it this way or bring this again. It's not an item. It's just a discussion item, but I can always bring it for the calendar year and then relook at it at, a quarterly or something too, because I know it's part of the last item on all of your meetings for the agenda setting. But we plan, you are not scheduled to meet in July. So the August meeting, we plan to bring the collection development policy that coincides with the state's Freedom to Read Act. And then in September, review this fiscal year's performance and workload measures and the library's year in review packet that we put together every year. October is typically a meeting with the Friends. And then this year, you all are not meeting in November, but in December. And then for 2026, every year in January, you all elect the chair and vice chair. And February is usually the mid-year, either February or March, depending on when we get the statistics for our 6-month performance and workload measures. And then next spring, I have to be determined for next year. So this is just to give you kind of a preview of what we plan to bring to the board in the next year. Kind of hard to do a year in advance.
Yeah,
And I'd be happy to do a 6-month, bring you all something in December for January through June, and then in May, here's the remaining of the year, something like that, if you'd like.
that may work, and this may not be practical, but if December would be too late to bring information, could we bring it in October instead?
Mhm.
But that might not be practical, because the Friends meeting typically is the whole session, right?
Right, this
So-
would be short enough. I could bring it in October, I think.
Okay, well, I'd like to put it to the group, just a
Yeah,
I
suggestion.
think October is nice. The fall has, we've settled into fall, but we're not quite in the holidays.
Mhm. So yes, I'm good with that too, of course, that, since I suggested it. But do you have any?
6 months?
Oh, either way, 6 month could be more specific, perhaps.
6 months might allow you to fill in as needed or whatever you think is easier for you, for your planning purposes too.
I'm happy with 6 months.
Okay.
Okay. No,
In terms of public comment, would any member of the public like to provide comments on an item at this time? If on the line, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The director will then display a timer on the screen. Are there any raised hands at this point?
No raised hands.
No raised hands? Okay, so that was a deliberated item, and I assume we're good with the deliberations. So then we would move to section 8.3, approval of library behavioral policy, and I will give the floor to the library director at this time.
so this is an edited version of our behavior policy. We worked with the city attorney's office, and they looked at our current policy and combined everything into this policy. Some of the bigger changes is the format. And they went through, the attorney's office went through the levels of violations. And they also attached mostly everything to a penal code, a California code, or a city code. And they also, one of the other big differences in this edited version is they included a first offense, second, or third. So for example, if a customer had engaged in physical altercations, the first offense would be a year suspension. And then if they came back after that year suspension, they did it again, they came back the week after this happened, a second offense would be a 2-year suspension and so forth. So they added that into the policy. And then the levels. So those are the 3 main differences of this current policy, or the edited policy. So they really compiled the types and severity of the violations. So level 1, and then scroll down to 2, which are moderate, and then the level 3, the minor. And they looked at it as I mentioned, through the California Penal Code or any city codes as well. And then some, for example, a lower level, making loud, unreasonable noise, including disrupted use of personal communications or entertainment devices. The first offense would be a warning, so our security staff or library staff would let somebody know and give them a warning. You need to correct this. If they didn't correct it, they would be told to leave for those. And then one other thing the library team talked about to help with the policy for users who might say, well, I didn't know you had a policy. We're planning to post signs at our entrances that say something to the fact of welcome to the library. Here are some of the expected behaviors, and we'll say it gently so that it's not, do not do this. You know, we'll make it a positive statement in order to keep our library safe and welcoming for all. Here's some bullet points, and then we'll attach copies of our policy right there so that any user could just grab one and they're aware. So for that. And then the other thing we do plan to do at the end, there is a suspension appeal as there currently is. That they may request a appeal hearing. And what we will do if somebody does get suspended, we always hand them the copy of the behavior policy, let them know why, or if we call police for something, to give it to them for us. We will include the appeal form in the policy. Well, right now they have to come in and get it, but if they're suspended, they're not supposed to be in here. So we will hand everything to somebody, and make sure they're clear of the policy and how to do that. But those were the major differences in the policy. I think it's very clear. It helps to have the penal code, the city codes attached to it, but it also gives some of the staff some leeway also to have dialogue and relationship building with our customers, with our users, to let them know, yes, you know, it is in our policy. Here's some things to remedy it, but to give us that capability of informing people more. So that's really the highlight of the policy changes.
To appeal a suspension, number 3, completed form must be received by staff within 10 days. Postmarks will not apply. So I guess just being very technical about it, when you say received, does that have to be on paper, delivered in person? Yeah, if it's sent to the postal mail, it's just not being count. 10 days from the incident, gonna be a PDF, like, just thinking details, like.
Yeah, the few that we've had, they've handed it to staff, they've brought it in, but we would take any of that email, a PDF. But typically they'll hand it to staff.
Okay. That seems fine then.
What's the rate of suspension? I guess maybe a year.
In a year, oh gosh, well, it varies by like a year suspension. Something significant is maybe once or twice a year, a couple times, maybe. We haven't had a huge significant, I think in this fiscal year, just one, so 1 or 2, for, something that's a year. Most of our suspensions are typically small, timeframes, so a day, a week. And typically it would be Sometimes but using the washrooms for things, not, not intended. Loud or disruptive noise, if we let somebody know, and usually the staff will give a warning. Cause sometimes people will have their headphones on, if they're listening to music, they might be shouting, they don't realize it. So staff are always trying to, let people know that, but if it continues, okay, we've told you 3 times, something like that. Food, unfortunately, we just, we can't have food. Food's the hardest one. And usually it's a warning. And then, but if we've had some people that we've told over and over, and it's like, no, you can't bring your fast food. You can't, if you use the study room, there's a lot of other people using it, especially when we're open till 9. That's a lot of smells, rodents, all those kinds of things. So, luckily, some are smaller. And then, maybe a month suspension or 6 months might be, uh, something that's related to a city code violation, or they've used vulgar language or foul language, intimidation towards staff. But I would say gosh, I don't know offhand, or Charles may know, in a month
Year.
or a year.
A
maybe.
year would typically involve someone.
Well, not the year suspension, how many altogether in a year?
I don't.
Maybe. I know I've looked this up, probably. Something like that. Yes. But if it's way off, I'll let you all know. I'll update you.
Is it primarily the responsibility of security, or is it primarily on staff? Or, I mean, security staff is what I.
So we do have the lead security services guard. He that we just hired. It was a vacant position. It's a new position we got in 2 years ago in the budget. So typically it depends. Sometimes the library staff, if they see something, just let them know. Or sometimes it's on the radio, something's happening. Can you tell the person on the computer 14 this, or there's somebody sleeping in the corner? They'll radio security to ask. We try to have 2 security staff at all times, 1 on each floor. Saturdays and Sundays, we've been trying to have 3 just because it's our busiest day and we have programs outside. We do add additional ones if we're having programs outside, or if there's an event at the Civic Center Plaza. So we had more security at the last big event outside last Saturday, for the Pride event. So if we're expecting, a lot more numbers, we'll have more security. But it's a combination, but we do try to have the librarians focus on the librarian work. All the things wonderful things Charles was talking about, and have our security team do that. And then we have a wonderful PD who, if we feel, we'd feel uneasy about some situation, and we just want their them to come, they'll come anytime we call to help us be there to let somebody know something like that. So
It sounds like the suspensions are primarily physical, is that right? In terms of entering the library, but do you still retain digital?
they can still have digital access, yes. So it's typically suspended. Where's their card suspended? No, we didn't decide to suspend the card because we wanted them to have. I think the card,
I think for like year suspensions.
it is. I think for the long ones, it is from all resources, including the bookmobile. So
A year or greater.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
'Cause it does sound like you, as library director, have the discretion then to decide what fits. What fits the, I guess, what has happened or the situation.
Yeah, we try to keep it within the guidelines, so it's equitable, so that if one person did this, we're giving the same suspension and not, you get 6 months, you get a year. So it's typically, and with a year suspension, I would write a letter, send it to our city attorney's office. We usually write the incident, the details, and they review it, to give me feedback. And if they're okay with it as well, before we send it to the user.
Tracy, do you have a good way to communicate to all the staff when this has occurred? So everybody's aware of who is not supposed to be there?
So we have a new software system that it was built just specifically for libraries. So we implemented that last year. And it's super resourceful. So if I had to suspend someone, if there's certain incidents, you can link different incidences. And then we're able to, if there was a year suspension or a week, it's added, and then all of the in-charge staff get an email notification. And it may not give the details in the email, but they'll get an email saying this was updated. And so you can click into the software and see what the update was, so then everyone would know. And then typically, sometimes people forget their suspension and they've come in, is my suspension over? Or, no, you still have 5 days, or you have, still 1 month or something. So people, relay that.
And is the policy linked on the website so that there's anyone, the people on the, using the website can see what the library policy is?
The library policy is on the website. All of our policies are on the website. And then we'll have the printed copies just for additional, just to let people know, because a lot of times they don't know we have all these policies. They can come into the library, you don't know, oh, there's a material selection policy, library card and borrow policy. They just think you you get
I
it.
assumed it was there, I just have never looked for the behavior
Yeah.
policy online.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and I think some people who in the past have joined library boards don't realize it either until, yeah. That you
Yeah,
all,
I think it's helpful now to have all your codes in there. I think it just makes it more official for the staff.
yeah,
That you've got that layer of backup if you have to talk to somebody in a challenging situation and point to something it's like, I'm not just making this up.
There's a structure to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And pretty much, I think every library, public library and academic, but I'm pretty sure every public library has a behavior policy. It's pretty standard.
Any other questions in the room? If not, then I will ask for public comment. Would a member of the public like to provide comments on this item? If online, click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will then display a timer on the screen. No raised hands. At this time, for the approval of the library behavioral policy, I will move to approve this new policy. Can I get somebody to second?
Second it.
Okay, great. Library Director Gray can now conduct a vote by roll call.
Vice Chair Ambasta,
Approved?
Board Member Sue, approved. Board Member Weisenbeck, approved.
Excellent. Section 9, board and staff announcements, updates, requests, and committee reports. we have the library director's report, which now Director Gray will present.
Okay, well, as you see, a lot in the library report this month, as always. And then the announcement that this is the first year, it's a city holiday for Juneteenth, so we will be closed this Thursday. And then Charles mentioned our interns and the new the new catalog. And then summer reading is in full force. We had our kickoff June 1st. The Friends had a table. And then we had an outdoor program today with animals from the rainforest, which it was a pretty good attendance. And the library staff had a table at the State of the City event on May 21st. I know some of you were in attendance at that as well. So a lot of good things coming up. I think the tech showcase is planned, the annual city tech showcase. Our staff will be tabling at that event. And then-
Sometime in July.
yeah. And then as far as staffing, we're recruiting right now for a senior library assistant position in our youth bookmobile and collection division. And then our youth manager retired, so that job for the manager position just posted on Friday. We'll be looking to fill that soon. And we have one other library
Staff person in the,
pardon me.
who was the staff?
Tari Ryan, yeah, she retired. So, yeah, so we're in the thick of summer reading and all the fun stuff. And yeah, all is going well. Oh, I did want to give an update on the IMLS because we did have that as an item at the last few meetings. So as of right now, the preliminary federal budget, which their fiscal year starts October 1st. So there is a plan to disband the IMLS. I haven't received any updates in the last couple of weeks, but that was the plan. And that would mean the funding would end. That goes to all of the states. The California State Library, as I've mentioned, some of their resources will not be funded. As Charles mentioned, the California Revealed, where the digital resources that is funded by LSTA funds through IMLS, and a couple other items, the New York Times, which our friends are going to support next fiscal year. So those were the main things that affect our library here. But I will keep you guys updated. I know you don't meet in July. We'll work anything, new changes that I see throughout the summer, if not give an update in August. That's an update on what's happening in nationwide and what will affect states. And then I know the state is working on their budget as well. All of the actual California state funded programs like the Career Online High School will continue. And then last Tuesday night was the budget meeting, the city council budget meeting. Everything that we had asked for stayed in the budget on that day. And then the formal adoption will be June 24th for the fiscal year. So a couple of the items, the Career Online High School, the stipend that goes with it, we hope that, that's planned to continue. And some other resources for staff development are the highlights. And so we're looking forward to the final adoption, and the budget is online on the city's page under budget. But if anyone wants the link, I can send it to you. So the long document, but a lot of good information.
Any questions in the room? If not, then in terms of public comment, would any member of the public like to provide comments on this line item? If on the line, please click raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. And the library director will display a timer on the screen. No raised hands, and so then we move towards agenda item 9.2, agenda setting, to be presented again by Director Gray.
So no meeting in July, and then in August, we hope to bring a revised collection development policy to the board.
And do you foresee the collection policy to be very significantly revised or?
The preliminary, there was a staff committee that worked on it. And
Uh-huh.
they did a really good job of updating it, and we can give you the red line if you would like, so that you can see. It was hard to do with the behavior policy, the red line, but including, yes. So I'll bring either the red line, the old and the new. So it's easy to compare. I know some people like to see things side by side.
It can
without the
help,
changes.
yeah, if
Yeah.
possible. I
Okay.
think that's short. That'd be great.
Okay.
Anyone else? In terms of public comment, would any member of the public like to provide comments on an item at this time? If on the line, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone, and a timer will be displayed on your screen. Melvin, any?
No.
No public comments. Therefore, this meeting is now, the meeting is adjourned at 8:26 PM. The next Board of Library Trustees meeting will be held on Monday, August 18th, 2025 at 7 PM.